Today I want to talk about some interesting information that was found in the game's code by a Redditor named Cocus Pocus. This stuff was discovered about a week ago, so you might have already heard some of it, but a lot of people have been asking for my opinion on it, so here it is. First discovery is probably the one that's been discussed most online, and that's new types of incense. The game's code refers to them as item incense spicy, item incense cool, and item incense floral. At first glance, it seems like they might attract specific Pokemon types, fire, water, and grass. But in my opinion, an incense that attracts one type of Pokemon is probably too narrow of a usage. If these new incense are type specific, I expect each one to attract a group of Pokemon types. Floral could obviously include grass and bug types, and cool could include water and ice. But because so many of the 18 Pokemon types don't clearly fit into one of the categories, the groupings might not be so obvious. One possible scenario is that each of these new incense could attract Pokemon from a specific biome. Spicy could attract Pokemon from a desert biome, like the ones I see here in Southern California. Cool could attract Pokemon from a waterfront biome, and floral could attract Pokemon from a grassland or forest biome. This way, you could use them to find Pokemon you don't normally come across in your local area without them being restricted to specific types. It's also possible that these new incense names might just be placeholders, and they might function entirely differently than their names suggest. So for now, just know that they're in the game's code, and they might be coming eventually. The next bit of information discovered has to do with trading. There are lines in the code that references trade search, trade offer, trade response, and trade result. That doesn't tell us too much about how trading is actually going to work, other than that you'll be able to search for trades and offer things to people, which should have been pretty obvious from the beginning. I've already gone into detail on how I think trading should work in a previous video. It's kind of in the middle of the video, so I'll put a link in the description, and if you click on that, it'll start the video exactly where I'm talking about trading. So you can go check that out if you want to hear my opinions on it. This code was just recently discovered, but I don't know how long it's actually been in the game, but the fact that we're seeing it suggests that trading might be coming sooner rather than later. The next discovery seems to reference items that might affect your chances of capturing a wild Pokemon. The lines in the code are item, effect, cap, chance, night, trainer, and first throw. I didn't mention this in the episode on second generation because I was focused mainly on the Pokemon, but in addition to 100 new Pokemon, second generation also introduced new Pokeballs, which worked better under different circumstances. These lines of code could hint that new types of Pokeballs might be coming to Pokemon GO. Night could reference a Dusk Ball, which has a higher capture rate if you use it at night. First Throw might reference a Quick Ball or a Fast Ball. A Quick Ball works better when you use it early on in the encounter, and a Fast Ball works better on Pokemon that are likely to flee, like Abra. Level is a little bit more tricky. There is a level ball in the main series Pokemon games, but the way that it works is it increases the capture chance if the wild Pokemon is a lower level than the Pokemon you're using to battle it. Because we don't battle wild Pokemon in Pokemon GO, it's obviously not going to work that way. It could reference your trainer level, but Pokemon that you find in the wild will always be equal to or less than your current trainer level. I think if this line of code does reference a level ball, the way that it'll most likely work is the capture chance will increase as the level of the wild Pokemon decreases, so it'll be useful for capturing weaker wild Pokemon. Now remember, we don't know for sure what these lines of code are referring to. They might not be new Pokeballs. We do know that there are berries in the game's code that aren't being used yet, so it's possible that this code refers to the effects of those unused berries. And again, in the end, it might be something entirely different. The last discovery I want to talk about is the one that's the most interesting to me, and that's the mention of buddy Pokemon. It seems like buddy Pokemon are going to be able to walk with you, and you'll gain some rewards for doing that. The code refers to them in terms of their size and positioning: buddy big, buddy medium, buddy flying, and buddy shoulder. So it kind of seems like they might, depending on their size, walk next to you, walk behind you, sit on your shoulder, or fly behind you, depending on their type. And it seems like by walking with your buddy Pokemon, you'll be able to earn candies for it. The game references KM Buddy Distance and also Buddy Candy Awarded. So it seems like based on the distance that you walk with your buddy Pokemon, you'll be awarded candy for that species. In one of his earliest interviews about Pokemon GO, John Hanke mentioned that there would be rewards for players who walk farther, and the first thing I thought of was that it would be a way to train your Pokemon. Now obviously we don't have training per se in Pokemon GO, but powering them up with candies is pretty much the same thing, so I'm really excited about this. One of the pieces of feedback that I gave early on in the beta tester group was that we needed a way to earn candies besides just catching Pokemon. The reasoning is something I'm sure you've all experienced. If you've ever caught a rare Pokemon at low CP, it's both exciting and disappointing. Because, yeah, you caught a rare Pokemon, but because it's rare, you're gonna have a hard time finding candies for it, and you might not be able to power it up to a level where it'll be usable in gym battles. With this new buddy system, it seems like you'll be able to walk with that rare Pokemon in order to earn candies for it, so you can power it up without having to catch more. If Niantic ever wanted to go a little more in-depth with stats in Pokemon GO, they could implement something similar to the buddy system for training. In the main series game, in addition to IVs, there's also another hidden value called EVs, or effort values. They work similarly to IVs in that they affect a Pokemon's overall stats, but unlike IVs, they start at 0 and you can actually choose which ones you want to increase. EVs give you a little bit more customization and control over the way you build your Pokemon, so you can choose how to use them in battle. You can focus on its offensive stats and maximize its attack EVs so that it deals more damage, or you can focus on its defensive stats and maximize its defense EVs so that it can survive longer in battle. If Niantic wanted to implement an EV-type system into Pokemon GO, we could power our Pokemon up by walking with them, just like in the buddy system. In the main series games, there are hold items that you can give to a Pokemon that increase their EVs for a certain stat. So, in Pokemon GO, if you gave your Pokemon a power bracer and walked with it, its attack EVs could increase for every kilometer that you walk. I'm hopeful that in the future they will start to implement some systems like this that give us a little bit more control over the build and stats of our Pokemon, because right now the way that everything is just random, that's only going to work for so long before people start to get tired of it. That's it for the new discoveries, that's my take on them, but remember, in the end this is mostly just speculation. We don't know exactly how any of these things are going to be implemented into the game. But I can say that I'm excited, I'm hopeful for the future, especially for the buddy system. But for now, I've got to go catch some Pokemon. So this morning, I broke the Sylph Road. Once I posted that video, I guess a ton of people were trying to sign up at the same time, and their servers just couldn't handle it, so sorry Moots, sorry Dropes. I didn't know that was going to happen. But they're back up now, so if you didn't get a chance to go check it out earlier, definitely go check it out now. The reason I'm here at this park is because I was looking on the Sylph Road's Nest Atlas, and someone reported an Execute Nest here. So I figured I'd come check it out because, as you guys know, I'm trying to get a good Execute to evolve into Exeggutor, and it looks like one person reported it, and then someone on February 2nd, 2000 didn't have their phone time set right, I don't know. Also said that there's an Execute Nest here, but since we've been here, I haven't run into any. We have caught 3 Slowpokes though, so that was pretty interesting. There is another Slowpoke on the sightings list, so I'm going to say that this is more likely a Slowpoke nest or habitat. Look at that, 2 Slowpokes. This is definitely a Slowpoke nest, not an Execute nest. Wow, interesting. I'm going to go ahead and report that after I catch these Slowpokes. That's 1 Slowpoke, 2 Slowpokes.
Is before Execute Slowpoke or something? Did you say like?
No, I was looking at the list of changes to nests recently, and it seems like most Execute nests change to either Cubone or Rhyhorn. So I'm not sure why this is a Slowpoke nest now. Unless it was just never an Execute nest and that was a false report. Someone thought it was an Execute nest, but it's not. So I just caught 2 Slowpokes. I'm going to go ahead and report this as a Slowpoke nest on the Sylph Road's Nest Atlas, which is working now. So here it is, Fairview Park. I'm going to add my report to it and say that I did find a species here, but it is not Execute. It was, in fact, Slowpoke. Report. I did find a cluster spawn. There were 2 at once just now. Cluster spawn, by the way, means that you see more than one of that Pokemon spawned at the same time, and that's a sign of a definite nest. Frequent spawn area is what I'm referring to as a habitat, which is, according to the Sylph Road here, semi-frequent spawning over a small area, typically non-concurrent. That means you can find them there regularly, but not multiple at once. And frequent spawn point refers to an exact point, the same spot where you'll see that Pokemon spawn multiple times throughout the day. So that was a cluster spawn for sure. I'm gonna report that. August 30th, 2016. Helpful comments, stay on the trails again. Submit my report. There it is. I have reported a slowpoke nest here at Fairview Park. Ooh, look at the sun. It looks like the Lion King. Submitting my slowpoke report to that execute report doesn't actually put a slowpoke nest on the map, so I'm going to report a nest right now. A nest. Find my location right there. It's a new nest. Cluster spawn. Yep, that's exactly where I am. Boom. Reported. Slowpoke nest, Costa Mesa, Fairview Park. It's a big park, but if you follow the trails, you'll find them. We're on our way back to the car now because Cassie's phone is dead and we're very hungry. But on our way out, along the trail here, it's not marked on Pokemon Go, but we are on a trail. You can see that. Another slowpoke. So if you're coming out here, just walk the trails. There's a bunch of people running. You could run,
Biking.
hatch some eggs, bikes too. It's a weird park. It's like very not landscaped, but there's a bunch of slowpokes here. Oh, my fingers are too sticky. Can you hold this for me? It's just like a drag. Got it. How many candies do I have now? 41. I need to catch like 2 more slowpokes and I can evolve. We just had dinner, some delicious ramen, and since I'm so close to evolving a slowpoke, it's dark, but we're gonna go back to that park. I just need to catch 2 more. So Cassie's phone's been charging this whole time. She should be able to catch some with me this time. Here we go. We're out here, we're back, it's dark, so we're doing it Blair Witch style. We're hunting down the slowpokes right now, but I just appraised all mine and I realized that none of them have good IVs, none of them are worth evolving. So I do have all these 5-kilometer eggs that are close to hatching, so Cassie has graciously agreed to walk a mile in the dark with me to hatch these eggs and see if we can get any of them to hatch into slowpokes, so that I can actually have one that I will spend candies on to evolve. So once we find this one, I'll have enough candies, and then we're just gonna keep walking around in the dark until I hatch these eggs. Here it is, the last slowpoke I need, and lucky for you guys, it's near a light, so you don't have to see my creepy flashlight face again. 14 CP. This is definitely not the one I'm gonna evolve. I can't even hit it, I'm telling you. Does anyone else feel like they have to throw harder recently to hit these Pokemon? 50 candies, exactly. Let's appraise it, just because. Room for improvement, just like the rest of them. So again, Pokemon caught at nests generally have below average IVs, so that's why I'm gonna keep walking, try to hatch these eggs. 1.3 kilometers to go. Let's do some laps. They're hatching now, so this is 7 5-kilometer eggs. I'm here to slowpoke nest, and we're gonna see if any of these hatch in a slowpoke, just to give a little bit more evidence towards the theory that eggs are determined by the location where you hatch them versus the location where you pick them up. Here we go. Staryu. Well, I haven't seen a Staryu here the entire day that we've been here. Machop. That's also something I haven't seen here, but I'm happy to hatch that. 83 candies now. Psyduck. Again, not something I've seen here. Mankey. I have seen some Mankeys here. Paris. Seen plenty of Paris here, but you see them everywhere. Duo. Abra, yes. I've been hatching a lot of Abras lately. 93 Abra candies. Yes. That's it. There it is. No Slowpokes from those eggs. I did end up catching quite a few. I have 57 Slowpoke candies now. But this looks like it's going to be another Execute for me. I'm waiting to hatch a good one from an egg so that I can evolve it into a decent Slowbro. Not that any Slowbro is bad. Slowbro is just super overpowered. But that's it. That's the end of this episode. It's dark. It's cold. I'm going to go home. The Silphrode's Nest Atlas is definitely the resource I'm going to be recommending from now on when it comes to finding nest locations, because it is crowdsourced, but it updates automatically, meaning you don't have to submit the report to someone and wait for them to update their map. You can just submit your report and it'll show up on the map right away. And on top of that, it has a system built in for verification by other people.